Chapter 4. Leaving the Nest. "What would you like to major in?" the admissions counselor asked me. I hadn't given much thought to a career or why I was there. I just went because I was supposed to. "Secretarial science, I guess," I said, noting to myself that being an art major was not the right choice. I didn't dream of teaching art someday. I figured as a secretary I could type, file, and organize. I was good at all that. I never had any career cravings. Only boy cravings. Besides, looking at my own family's model, the dad is the breadwinner, and the mom does part-time work as is necessary. I would really hit the jackpot if I married someone with a good-paying job. The role of housewife sounded fun to me, as long as I married a loving man. What could go wrong? This school was a 2-year college anyway, unless you were a Bible major or education major. So I would just be taking the basics for an associate's degree. During the first semester, I saw a lot of boys I really liked, but none of them looked my way. I went on 3 or 4 dates with strange, nerdy guys, but felt no connection to them. One night, a small group of people was going on a walk and invited me along. A plump, blonde guy held me back from the group and asked if I wanted to sit down. I didn't really want to, but I said okay anyway. Before I knew it, he had his entire mouth over mine in the sloppiest, grossest French kiss in my life. He stole my first kiss from me. After years of watching romantic movies, I was quite let down by how that kiss felt. Not romantic at all. Worst kiss ever. I didn't feel appalled in the moment, though. That came later. In the moment, my body got all jittery with shock, and I actually had to lay down in his lap, which was the last place I wanted to be. My mind had built up the moment with such suspense that the release of it actually happening just seemed to shut me down, just like when a boy talked to me in high school and my ears stopped working. The next day, he tried to hang around me, and I felt stuck, not knowing how to get away from him. No one had ever told me what to do in this situation, so naturally, I had no idea what to do. However, my repulsion of him was so strong that I somehow found the words to let him know I was not interested. "We'll just be friends," I stammered nervously, looking away. Phew, that was a close call. At the end of our Christmas break, Dad admonished my brother. "You've got to introduce her around. Get her some dates," he instructed. "But Dad, she's a social retard," he blurted out as we sat in the airport waiting for our flight back to school. I felt surprised he would say it in front of me, but he was just being honest. "Hey, now be nice," Dad hissed at him. All I could think inwardly was, it's about time someone was honest, no matter how hurtful it feels. I wondered how many strangers overheard this exchange and what they thought, if anything. My hurt feelings took the wheel of my mind as I stared down at the floor. Sometimes my only friend. Hot, unwelcome tears flooded my eyes. I decided looking at the floor felt pretty good right then. At least now I knew why I hadn't found a husband yet. Halfway into my second semester, I really felt the pressure to have a boyfriend and get married. So many cute, happy couples roamed the campus, and I wanted to experience that too. After all, there was only 1 more year of college, and then what? I certainly did not want to live with my parents again, unless it was a last resort. I had noticed that society deemed those kinds of people as being backwards moochers who would never grow up. Add in the old maid card floating around my subconscious, and it was the perfect recipe for desperation. Not a great foundation to choose from. I continued to pine after the cutest single boys, but I had been taught to let them make the first move. It was the proper way. So all I could do was look. Passing my phone number to boys in grade school certainly hadn't worked for me anyway. There was one guy I really liked, and when the next banquet came around, there was an announcement that the girls had to ask. A breach in the rules. I thought of asking him, but I felt scared. I might have summed up the courage eventually, but another girl in my dorm told me she was asking him, so I wasn't allowed to. He turned her down, but I had already given her my word, so I didn't ask him. I felt mad at that girl, but I knew deep down I was too shy to ask him out. He ended up marrying a distant cousin of mine. I felt so detached from everyone, wanting sometimes to join in but lacking the skills. When I tried to tag along in a group of my brother's friends on his birthday, his girlfriend pulled me aside and told me not to go because I would be the odd one out. So, I didn't go. Instead, I cried all the way back to my dorm room. I felt extremely hurt by her tone and exclusion of me from what should have been a happy family occasion. I wondered if my brother would think I didn't want to go, or if he would realize what happened. I certainly did not want to be the socially awkward tag-along outcast to be pitied. That would have been worse. After they broke up, she was overly nice to me. I played along, but it felt weird to me. One day I recognized my #1 crush from Bible camp. I had written him a letter and he had actually written back. A nice reply, but nothing romantic, of course. I was so excited about it when it came in the mail. My first letter from a boy. And now he was on campus even though he wasn't a student at the school. He was talking to a girl who I perceived to be the prettiest girl in school. They were from the same town, so they must have been acquaintances. I got so excited I forgot to be nervous. I bounded over and waved. He waved back, so I thought I should stand there and wait my turn to say hello. But they kept talking. I felt so awkward just standing there. Finally, I slinked away, trying to look composed. On the inside, I felt extremely embarrassed and confused. Why was being around people so hard? There were other boys I talked to that I thought might like me, but it turned out they had girlfriends at home. They were just being nice. Some nice-looking boys told me they all thought I had a boyfriend back home because I was so pretty. I said, "No, I don't have a boyfriend." I waited to see their reaction. They didn't say a word. No offer of a date, no revelation of any emotion about the subject. We were waiting for the cafeteria to open and the rest of the wait was silent. Was I coming off as desperate? I was trying ever so hard to be pleasant and cool-mannered. Nothing I tried seemed to work. There was one guy that was really good-looking, and he seemed to take a liking to me for a short time. We hung out a little. He had brown eyes, dark hair, and played baseball. I was enthralled, but kept the excitement inside. I just tried to be cool and enjoy talking with him. I felt it was a sure thing that he would ask me out soon enough. His sister lived in my dorm, and even she started talking to me all smiles as if she knew I was the one he liked. One night, he and I were hanging out at the student center until curfew. He got a call on his cell phone and talked for a long time. I had to leave or I would be late and get in trouble with the dorm mother. I waved goodbye at him, but he was wrapped up in his conversation. He seemed not to care about his own curfew enforcement. After that day, he didn't hang out with me anymore. I guess I'll never know why. One day I was sitting in the cafeteria by myself as I saw a group of 3 guys approaching from the corner of my eye. I looked up to see a green-eyed, red-haired boy who had come to talk to me. With him was his older brother and his best friend. I was not attracted to him immediately, which I did not think about consciously in that moment, but I didn't hold that against him. He somehow asked me out, and I somehow said yes. It's all a blur. I didn't necessarily want to, but if someone was asking, and no one had been asking lately, wasn't that a sign I should see where it leads? Perhaps, I thought at the time, God is going to teach me how to love someone in spite of whether or not I am instantly attracted to them. We went to the spring banquet together. We were on and off a few times during the summer. It seemed to be a struggle for me knowing a person wanted me, but at the same time, no one I liked was into me. It was a naive, terrible decision on my part. In the end, I stayed with him because another girl, the prettiest girl in school as a matter of fact, emailed him and I got jealous. It wasn't even a romantic email. She was just giving him advice about girls in general. Jealousy is just about the worst basis for keeping a relationship in my experience. I was about to learn a serious and painful lesson in the art of relationships, patience, discretion, assertiveness, red flags, and compatibility. I had been warned by Dad to watch for red flags, but I had not been told how to handle breakups. It never occurred to me to ask. I remember saying I love you to him on the phone during our summer between the 2 college years. I didn't actually feel it. I just knew I was supposed to say it. He said it back. Apparently, He was now my boyfriend. As for finishing college, there was one little snag. There was a Bible course I was taking as a requirement of the school's curriculum, taught by the preacher at my grandparents' church. So he knew my family well. The way he worded the questions on his tests were too vague for me. I could not make sense of what the right answer should be, even though I had studied. It certainly was not laziness, yet I was too reserved to march up to the front of the class to ask him to clarify all the questions I could not answer without just guessing. Was I supposed to go up front for 80% of the questions? That seemed ridiculous. So I was barely passing the class. This teacher had a rule: no retakes if you were late on a test day. I always made sure my alarm clock was set for class, but on this particular morning, the alarm did not go off. Either that or I slept through it. I am usually a heavy sleeper and even slept through a fire alarm as a child once. Anyway, I missed the test. I sent him a letter via campus mail explaining what happened and asking if he could make an exception. He wrote back and said no. So, although I walked across the stage at college graduation, my diploma book was empty. I felt like I was lying to everyone by doing this, but my parents assured me it was fine. I was 2 credits short of an associate's degree. With an incomplete degree, I would have to transfer to another school, and everyone knew Bible credits didn't transfer to other schools. It would be like starting all over again. I decided not to continue college and just live at home for a summer while paying off the $6,000 loan I owed before moving away to be closer to my boyfriend. I figured we would get married soon enough and my hardships would be over. Plus, I had no more desire for a specific career now than I had when I started college. Every subject seemed either too hard or not interesting enough. Looking back, I would have done well in a trade school of some sort to at least be able to use a skill set to provide for myself instead of assuming I would take a backseat to a main breadwinner. Alternatively, I could have devoted myself to one subject, becoming an expert and offering consulting services to a wide array of clients, but at the time, I had never heard of such a career. All I seemed to know is what I was told to do. Although my parents encouraged me to stay in school, they did not offer specifics. They thought I should be the one to know what I wanted, but I did not know. I hadn't the slightest clue what I was supposed to want beyond a heavenly romantic marriage. So I became stubborn, dug my heels in, and quit college. It only served to make my chances of surviving on my own that much harder, but it also didn't feel right to me to build up thousands of dollars in debt to get a job to then pay off the debt, especially if I would end up being a wife and possibly a mother. It was a life equation with unknown variables I could not crack. So I just gave up trying altogether.